Welcome back, it's Ryzen, and today we're going to be going over Genryusai Yamamoto versus Satoru Gojo. Now before I get into the battle, if you enjoy anime and manga content, I have a ton on the channel, so be sure to subscribe. Additionally, if at any point throughout this video you are watching it and you enjoy what you see, be sure to leave a like as it really does help out a small channel like mine. Also, this video does contain manga spoilers for both Bleach and Jujutsu Kaisen, so if you have not read those manga, go be sure to read them right now, and then when you're done, after however long it takes you, come back to this video and watch it. This video also features BleachHub, who is a very popular power scaler. You've probably heard of him before. He is a really good power scaler and he makes great content. I've linked his channel and his Discord in the description if you're interested. If you like this video, then you'll definitely like his content. And one final thing I wanted to mention, I actually ended up writing a full story for this battle with lore and a full choreographed fight and everything. And that's going to be at the end of this video, so if you would like to watch it right now, you can skip to the timestamp on the screen. But I would recommend you stay for the power scaling, as it actually gives context to that fight and everything will be much more coherent if you stay. So the first thing I wanted to go over was Yamamoto's speed. This is fairly simple. I think pretty much everybody at this point agrees that Yamamoto is somewhere above light speed. Some people will say millions of times faster than light, some people will say right around light speed, but in general the community tends to agree that Yamamoto is somewhere faster than light. This is because the lieutenants were capable of dodging the Nagashionne at point blank range, which was a feat calculated to be approximately 1/4 the speed of light. And then Ichigo was able to completely speed blitz these lieutenants. He wasn't even holding a sword, literally no sword, just using like karate, dude, that he learned in class when he was a little kid. And he was just beating the crap out of these guys with nothing. And then when you add amps and multipliers from Bankai, Shikai, you include the holification stuff, then we get Ichigo to be captain level, and Yamamoto should easily scale to this and even far above. So Yamamoto should easily be light speed even in the Soul Society arc. Now for Gojo, his speed is much more complicated. It's kind of divided into two groups. So we have one group of people that thinks that Gojo has infinite speed because he's capable of moving in the prison realm, which is stated to be a timeless realm. And this speed is actually very consistent with Gojo's overarching theme, which is the infinity. And so Gojo having infinite speed definitely makes sense there. But there's a lot of people that disagree with this. They say it sounds way too far-fetched because they believe that the prison realm is not timeless in that sense. They believe that you can move within it freely, but you just simply don't age when you're in there. And so if you interpret it that way, then I guess you can't really say that Gojo has infinite speed. And people who fall into that category also tend to believe that Gojo's speed is just around massively faster than sound. Because if we remember, Naoya, who is the second fastest Jujutsu sorcerer, actually broke the sound barrier in one of his fights when he was going top speed. And this was hyped up to be a super big deal. But he did end up losing to Maki, who at that point should be somewhat relative to Toji. But keep in mind, Toji should actually be much stronger than Maki because Toji was used to having that power much longer than Maki did. And additionally, Toji, when he fought Gojo, fought a very weakened and much younger version of Gojo than we are using here. So it's definitely safe to say that Gojo is much faster than sound, but we cannot really say based off of this logic that Gojo is anywhere near light speed. And so it's really awkward what we have here. So either Gojo absolutely obliterates Yamamoto because he has infinite speed and Yamamoto can't even perceive that, or Yamamoto absolutely stomps Gojo because Yamamoto has light speed and Gojo can't even perceive that. So in conclusion, we're just going to equalize the speed just so that it's not either way a one-sided stomp. As for the raw power levels, I'm going to leave you guys with BleachHub, who is going to go over Yamamoto's power.
If you're using base Shikai Yamamoto, he has some showings against Aizen, where Aizen's not sure if they were to just fight straight up if he could even beat him. This is the same Aizen that is said to have created a star inside of Wakemundo. I mean, they blatantly say he created a sun. But if you don't want to use that, he is stronger than all of the Espada, who can destroy Las Noches, which at base level is the size of a small country. But if you apply vaporization with say a Acero or something, It would bump up the Espada, who can all destroy Las Noches with a Gran Recero, or like 1 through 4, who can just flex and destroy it, from small country to multi-continental. So it's a pretty big jump, and thus would scale to Yamamoto because he's scaling to Aizen, who scales above all of the Espada combined. It's his Bankai where things start to get a bit spicy, because his Bankai basically scales to being able to destroy the Soul Society, and so the question is, how large is the Soul Society, and what does the Soul Society quote-unquote entail? Because we know it's a reflection of the living realm. They're said to be mirror realms of one another, and we know that both realms contain, a planet that they live on. We know they both contain a sun, but then we start to see that the Soul Society specifically contains numerous stars. In fact, Kaname's friend points this out when they're having their little flashback. She said, hey, look at the dozens of stars up in the night sky. So at bare minimum, the size of the Soul Society should be multi-solar, not only because it has to contain the dozens of stars, but it also needs to contain the gap between said stars as well. But things get really contentious when you talk about Mukin. Now, Mukin is said to be an infinite-sized realm. Even in the Japanese kanji, it does actually say infinite in terms of its size. The issue is that it's also said to be disconnected from the Soul Society. So when Yamamoto says like 15 different times that he's going to blow up the Soul Society just by casually existing in his Bankai, it's very contentious as to whether or not that applies to Mukin. Because again, Mukin is said to be cut off from the Soul Society. So he's sitting pretty comfortably at like multi-solar system. You could try to argue that he's like low multi-galaxy just by scaling him above Gremmy, because Yuha does say none of the other Stern Ritter could contain his power. So Gremmy, the same guy that can create multi-galaxy pocket dimensions, isn't strong enough to contain Yamamoto's Bankai. That's fine, he could be low multi-galaxy. All I'm saying is that the universal stuff, a bit contentious for Yamamoto specifically.
So as you guys can tell, Yamamoto is pretty strong. So before we get into Gojo's power, really quickly, I wanted to say that we are going to be assuming that cursed energy exists independently of Reiatsu, so Yamamoto can't just, neg him. With that in mind, in terms of like regular attacks, Gojo's regular attacks are pretty much going to do nothing to Yamamoto. I'm going to go over what he does have and what he can do to Yamamoto though. So one thing is Hollow Purple. Hollow Purple pretty much erases the space of whatever it touches. It's beyond just dealing damage. It literally removes what it touches from existence. So that's what the ability is. And it's kind of very similar to Okoyasu's The Hand from JoJo's, if you know what that is. And Yamamoto's just not tanking this. I don't think there's anybody that can tank this. It literally deletes the space. So if Yamamoto gets hit by this in a lethal area, he's pretty much screwed. The next thing that Gojo has is his domain expansion, Unlimited Void. We all know what that does, but I actually believe that Yamamoto can break out of this. This is because we've seen multiple times in Bleach where characters power up and literally destroy realities. An example of this is Ichigo going Bankai and literally destroying a pocket dimension. Another example of this is Kenpachi cutting open an entire reality that Gremmy created containing multiple stars. So it's very safe to say that Yamamoto going Bankai can destroy Gojo's domain expansion. If you want to say that Gojo's domain expansion is actually unbreakable and that it is impossible to break, then go ahead, but that's just kind of weird. But what Yamamoto cannot do is surpass Gojo's neutral infinity, because Yamamoto cannot destroy infinite space. As we saw by BleachHub's power scaling, we never got confirmation that Yamamoto could destroy Mugen, meaning that we can't just say that Yamamoto is going to surpass Gojo's infinity. Another thing that Gojo has is a Black Flash. This actually is much more insane than people think it is, because it is actually stated in the manga that the Black Flash does not multiply your power by 2.5. It actually increases your power to the power of 2.5. This exponential level of power increase given Gojo's base power actually might do some serious damage to Yamamoto, but this isn't like a video game or anything, so we don't have like exact damage numbers. So it really is up to what you think it could do, and I personally think it could do some decent damage to Yamamoto. I'm going to quickly go over some of the abilities that I haven't mentioned already. Gojo also has the 6 Eyes, which is pretty much the Byakugan on crack, if I'm being honest. It allows him to see pretty much everything. I'm going to say that he can see both Reiatsu and Cursed Energy, because that is pretty consistent with what we have seen from these 6 Eyes so far. And he also has his red and blue techniques, which, to overly simplify it, they pretty much just allow Gojo to control the center of gravity. And additionally, Gojo has infinite cursed energy, not really infinite cursed energy, but he can make the cursed energy that his techniques consume infinitely converge to zero cursed energy, practically giving him infinite cursed energy, which is obviously super broken. As for Yamamoto's abilities, his Bankai grants him access to Zankai no Tachi West and East, which is pretty much all of his flames, all of his Reiatsu condensed super tightly into his sword and also into armor. And this is actually stated to be just as hot as the sun, which is absolutely ridiculous. He can also summon 10 trillion souls to fight for him. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the power, the speed, and the abilities. So the only thing that's left is the fight. So yeah, let's get right into it. Itadori Yuji stared at Gojo's lifeless body with his hands in Gojo's chest. The markings faded and Sukuna went back into Yuji's body, feeling satisfied. Yuji screamed uncontrollably. He had just killed his master. Unbeknownst to him, Gojo had reawakened in an unfamiliar location. "Welcome to the Soul Society," a kind-looking man said to the confused Gojo. "Huh?" Gojo asked. Days passed. Gojo had fun screwing around and exploring. Eventually, however, he ran into Chojuro, Yamamoto's lieutenant. He sensed a strong presence from him, and in sheer boredom, he asked him to fight. Chojuro, who assumed Gojo was a normal civilian, laughed and decided to entertain the man. Gojo, who was unbelievably excited to fight once again, immediately launched a hollow purple. Chojuro, still assuming that Gojo's attack was some sort of funny party trick because it was not made of Reiatsu, did not dodge. The hollow purple completely erased his body, leaving only his head on the ground. Onlookers stared in absolute horror. Gojo realized that he had taken it too far, since he had just lost to Sukuna and he was genuinely ashamed of himself. He asked a random person where he should deliver Chojuro's head, and they pointed in the direction of the Serite. Gojo carelessly gave Chojuro's head to a random Shinigami walking by, and then gave a casual apology. Hilariously enough, the Shinigami ended up being Hanataro Yamada. Gojo then skipped away, happy to explore the rest of the Serite. Eventually, a handsome-looking man called Gojo over and introduced himself as Shunsui Kyoraku. Kyoraku and Gojo casually talked about their taste in women's clothing, and when Kyoraku offered Gojo a drink, Gojo declined, claiming to be the world's sexiest lightweight drinker, which prompted Kyoraku to burst into laughter. He asked where Gojo had came from, and Gojo grew into a serious expression. He said that he had just died in the world of the living not too long ago, and now an evil demon was roaming around, preying on those he cares about. Kyoraku, assuming it was a hollow, offered to go with Gojo to kill it. Gojo was shocked by the idea that he could return to the world of the living, and was unbelievably excited to go back and save everyone. Meanwhile, Yamamoto heard word of Chojuro's death and was furious. While on his way to look for Gojo, Urahara, who happened to be in the area, approached Yamamoto, offering him an item that would teleport the two of them into an infinite realm, where Yamamoto could fight with his full ability without worrying about destroying the Soul Society. Yamamoto took the item thankfully. This upset Mayuri, who was meeting with Urahara to discuss science. Not wanting to be one-upped, Mayuri gave Yamamoto an item that, upon activation, would emit a deadly poison, but all the captains were automatically immune to its effects. Yamamoto took this item as well, just to shut Mayuri up, and Mayuri walked away, cackling. Just a few moments later, Yamamoto barged into the room with Gojo. Shunsui's smile dissipated instantly. He asked Yamamoto what had happened. "This man killed Chojuro," Yamamoto said, his voice filled with rage. Without hesitation, Shunsui immediately drew his sword to kill Gojo, but Yamamoto had already trapped them both in Urahara's infinite realm, which was made specifically to withstand even the pinnacle of the Captain Commander's power. Gojo realized where he was, and he laughed. "Really? Another prison realm? Whatever. Hey old man, let me out of here. I need to go back into the human realm." Yamamoto trembled with anger. "Absolutely not," he said. "I will reduce you to ash this instant." Gojo sighed. "I guess I gotta deal with another foolish old man," he said. Yamamoto initiated the fight by releasing his Reiatsu. Gojo had never felt such a pressure before. This was undoubtedly the strongest opponent he had ever faced. They charged each other in a matter of seconds and swapped thousands of blows. Gojo then used his curse technique Red to propel himself backwards, away from Yamamoto. Gojo was speechless. He had landed many punches on Yamamoto, but not a single one damaged him in the slightest. Yamamoto was also stunned. Nobody had ever withstood an attack from Yujin Jaka and remained unscathed. Both opponents let out eerie smiles. They had officially earned each other's respect as combatants. Yamamoto shot fire at Gojo and Gojo dodged, to give Yamamoto the impression that he was afraid of his fire. As he was dodging, Gojo used his curse technique Blue to pull Yamamoto into him and immediately ducked the resulting slash from Yamamoto's sword. He then countered with an uppercut that, to Yamamoto's surprise, flashed an incredibly dark shade of red. "Black Flash," Gojo said calmly as Yamamoto flew backwards. Gojo had hit a black flash with his red technique in his hand, something that he had never done before, but he thought he could pull off in the spur of the moment. As Yamamoto flew back, Gojo launched a hollow purple at him, which Yamamoto reacted to by creating a reishi platform and dodged, but he didn't dodge completely. The tip of his pinky finger was caught in the blast and therefore removed from existence. Yamamoto was shocked yet again, but Gojo was even more surprised. Those two moves were supposed to be guaranteed kill moves, and yet Yamamoto was still standing there as if they had never happened. "Sorry for underestimating you, old man," Gojo said. "I thought you were like another old idiot I know, but now I know you're dangerous, and I'm gonna have to kill you." Gojo removed his blindfold. "Domain expansion. Unlimited void," Gojo said calmly. Yamamoto was trapped in the domain. He was stunned by the infinite amount of information being flooded into him, but for only 1 second, he did not think. His body resorted to pure instinct. Yamamoto released all of his Reiatsu and went Bankai. Gojo's domain shattered. At this point in the battle, both opponents had experienced things that they thought to be impossible, and simultaneously, they both had experienced fear for the first time in their lives. Gojo, hoping to take advantage of Yamamoto's mental state, fired off another hollow purple, but Yamamoto dodged it much more easily. Yamamoto pursued Gojo and struck his head clean, or so he thought. There was no connection. Yamamoto was enraged. He called upon the lives of the 10 trillion people that he had taken, and retreated amongst the near limitless amount of soldiers at his disposal. Gojo was effortlessly dealing with the soldiers, firing explosions and blasts everywhere. Yamamoto had used this time to think of a plan. He hid behind a large group of soldiers, and assuming Gojo could detect Reiatsu, drastically lowered his Reiatsu to match theirs. Gojo, who uses his 6 eyes to tell which one is Yamamoto by sensing either their cursed energy or just his body shape rather than Reiatsu, feigned ignorance yet again. Yamamoto appeared from behind Gojo and activated both his Zanko no Tachi east and west, and struck Gojo with his condensed sword right in the back of the neck, and he even simultaneously released Mayori's poison into the air. Yamamoto was confident that when the smoke cleared, Gojo would be dead or at least poisoned, but there was absolutely no effect. Gojo then stepped back, and in the confusion, used his domain expansion yet again. But this time, knowing that Yamamoto could break it, Gojo used a 0.02 second long domain expansion as a means to stun Yamamoto, and then he immediately fired off a hollow purple, splitting Yamamoto in half. Gojo then sat down and sighed. He was stuck in another prison realm, but at least he had a corpse to play with if he got bored. Meanwhile, Urahara turned off his camera. Urahara had heard of cursed energy in his many years living in Karakura town. The entire time, Urahara sensed Gojo's infinite cursed energy and knew that nobody in Soul Society or even in any realm could beat him. And rather than doing something reckless like summoning the Zero Division or unsealing Aizen, he simply decided to seal Gojo and sacrifice Yamamoto in the process, who was the only person with enough Reiatsu to activate the seal. Alright, that's it. That's the story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the battle. I worked pretty hard to write that, and I thought it came out pretty good. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. Also, check out BleachHub. His channel is linked in the description. And yeah, have a great day, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.